Jai Hind, Brigadier Hemant Mahajan welcomes you to another session on maritime and coastal security. Today, we are going to talk on two important aspects. First topic is on maritime security. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji spoke at the United Nations Security Council on 9th of August, and it was a historic event as far as India's maritime security is concerned. I'll talk about it as to what are the implications, what did he say, what does it mean for our security, how is China looking at it, etc. Second part is about coastal security. There I'll talk about security of our offshore installations such as oil rigs. We have a lot of important targets such as big cities, oil refineries, nuclear reactors on our coastline. So how do you secure them? In addition to that, we have a large number of ports which are there. How do we ensure that these ports are secured? So these are all aspects which we will look at, and I will cover these in detail in the next few minutes. Let me start off with firstly Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi's presence at the United Nations Security Council, and it's important. What we must understand is United Nations Security Council is the most important security establishment in the whole world, and there are 15 members in this institution. 10 are temporary, of which India is one, and 5 are permanent with veto powers. These are USA, Russia, Britain, France, and China. India is aspiring to become a permanent member, but it hasn't got that membership up till now. Okay, now this United Nations Security Council, India is a member now for 2 years. And in these 2 years, we get a term of 1 month to be president of this very important institution. And it so happens that this turn of ours has fallen in the month of August, in which we are going to complete 75 years of our independence. And here the Prime Minister was able to speak to the entire world audience, and a lot of large number of important leaders also attended it, and he focused on the maritime security. Call it maritime security, call it India's maritime strategy, but it was quite different. He outlined 5 principles when he spoke to the United Nations Security Council. First, he said that we must remove all the barriers that are there for maritime trade. And India has coined a concept called SAGAR, Security and Growth for All in the Region, SAGAR. And in this, he covered 5 important points. First is we must have a free maritime trade, and we must respect the rights of all the seafarers of other countries. What we have to understand is, if I remember the dates correctly, in 1982, the United Nations passed on a convention called UNCLOS, or United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas. Is basically laid down international laws as far as the sea is concerned. What it says is that the sea belongs to the whole mankind, and everybody has equal rights on it. It also made certain rules. These are, it laid down various limits of coastal areas from the country which has a coastline, from the baseline, that is the low tide mark, 12 nautical miles, the sea belongs to that country. It is called as territorial waters, and the laws of that land is applicable there. Beyond 12 nautical miles, up to 200 nautical miles is called the EEZ, or exclusive economic zone. This exclusive economic zone is a place where that particular country can exploit all the economic resources there, such as oil, gas, natural minerals, fish, etc. Then beyond 200 nautical miles up to 350 nautical miles is called the EEZ, meaning Extended Exclusive Economic Zone. So there also we have certain rights, but all others can also come in that area. So it was a very important convention. Everybody passed it. The only country not willing to accept it is China, and what China is doing in the South China Sea, in the East China Sea is well known to us. Now, what the Prime Minister brought out today was that when we are a president of United Nations Security Council, you have to talk about issues which concern the world and the mankind. Why is sea important? Why is maritime important? India is a peninsular country with nearly 7,600 kilometers of the coastline. We have a two set of islands. One is the Lakshadweep and Mini Islands in the Arabian Sea. Then we have also what is called as the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal, and the area which is given to us by the UNCLOS today, especially the extended exclusive economic zone, is even more than our land area. So it tells you as to how important the sea is for our nation. But up till now, we never utilized the potential of the sea. In fact, the inimical countries, inimical to our national interest, utilize the sea for wrong reasons. One would remember that 26/11 attack took place from the sea. One would remember that the bomb blast which took place in Mumbai and at other places also took place from the sea. So this is how it was. However, the potential, what potential does it have? Such a large exclusive economic zone, we can exploit it for gas, for oil, for fishing, etc. But we did not do it adequately. Now we are looking towards maritime and trying to exploit these resources, but in a proper way. Now, when Prime Minister talked about this, he said that there are basic five principles which all the countries must follow. First is maritime trade. Everybody has equal rights. Second is if there are any maritime disputes between the countries, then it must be resolved peacefully and in accordance with the international law. What is important here is that the international laws take precedence over the local laws. And China says, no, no, complete South China Sea belongs to us. It is doing all kind of dadagiri, trying to trouble nations in the Southeast Asia, in the East Asian regions like East China Sea, such as Japan, etc. So it is becoming a nuisance. And instead of using the sea for a peaceful purpose, China's fishing boats are being used like warships. When we talk of maritime security, it is not exactly deployment of battleships. No wars are being fought at the sea. No battles are being fought at the sea. But what is more important is maritime cooperation. This is a strategy which our Prime Minister has unrolled in front of the whole world, and how popular it was that this resolution, the speech that he gave, the resolution that was introduced has been passed by everybody unanimously. Not even China dared to sort of stop it. Remember, in the past, quite a few nations had wanted to introduce discussion on maritime security or coastal security, but China just would not let it go ahead, saying no. It is what is the whole our rules or the Chinese law must apply to South China Sea, and on some vague claims that they have, they say the entire South China Sea belongs to them. But no, we now have told the world that any dispute must be resolved by peaceful means and in accordance with the international laws. Just to take you back, there was a maritime dispute between Philippines and China. The Philippines went to the World Court of Justice. The World Court of Justice ruled that the dispute in favor of Philippines, but China says no, sorry, we cannot agree to it. Imagine, the World Court has ruled that the Philippines is more right and the area in dispute belongs to Philippines. The Chinese did not agree to it. So this is second most important principle which we need to follow. The third principle is that we must jointly tackle various challenges which are there, maritime threats to the in the maritime region, in the oceans of the world, which are basically from non-state actors, from pirates, from dacoits, from elements which create law and order at sea, elements which ensure that there is no good governance at sea. So therefore, these pirate groups are today very active in the Malacca Strait. They're active on the Somalian coast of Africa, and a lot of ships get looted, a lot of ships get sunk, and a lot of crime takes place at sea. So therefore, we all must ensure that everybody comes together and guard these areas, especially in the Strait of Malacca, especially on the coastline of Africa, etc., so that there's a free passage available for merchant shipping. And he also mentioned that we are a net security provider as far as this area is concerned. The fourth issue which he brought out was that the maritime environment and the maritime resources. The maritime resources must be preserved. There should be no pollution at sea. Ships just cannot dump their used stuff inside the sea. Oil pollution should not be there, and so on and so forth. Now, this is very important because oil spills or when a ship sinks, lot of stuff coming out of it, it creates a lot of pollution. So therefore, this has to be controlled. This is what he aimed at, that we all must come together and ensure that the sea is not polluted. The sea remains pollution free. And the last point which he spoke about was the maritime connectivity. What is important is today 95% of the trade takes place from the sea. So sea routes are very important. Sea lines of communications are very important. Maritime trade routes are very important, especially at the choke points such as the Malacca Strait, such as the Sundara Strait, and many other states which I have told to you earlier when I spoke on this issue. So these are the five important points which he spoke, and it was the resolution was passed unanimously. That is what we must understand. And China just could not do anything. So it tells you now China is got caught into the trap very badly, and it will have to accept uh, international arbitration as far as maritime disputes are concerned, because United Nations Convention on Laws of Seas sets out a legal framework which is applicable to all the activities, including countering illicit activities. And this was for the first time any Prime Minister of independent India has spoken on the United Nations Security Council. And what we did, we, instead of fighting as China does, instead of acting very aggressively as China does, we went in for maritime cooperation. We prepared a draft resolution. We prepared as to what the Prime Minister is going to say. This was circulated to everybody. All the nations saw it earlier. They realized that it was very important. So when he gave the speech and when the resolution was introduced, it was passed unanimously. So that tells you if you consult people, if you cooperate, very important issues such as maritime security, maritime policies can be passed very easily. So now let us hope that this leads to better maritime governance, and we are able to ensure the laws are implemented properly at seas, and it is not that one bullying nation trying to hold the whole world to ransom. Today, we must understand that China is building artificial islands there. China is claiming whole of South China Sea. It is claiming offshore assets all over the place. It is in inimical terms with all the Southeast Asian countries. So therefore, China is a big bully creating problems all over. So this so much of as far as the maritime security is concerned. Maritime security is not only deploying battleships. Maritime security is helping the other countries in terms of natural disaster such as cyclones, etc., guarding the choke points, ensuring that free trade takes place in the sea, etc. So this is one important part I thought tell you, and this is what Prime Minister spoke. So it tells you as to how important the maritime security or the maritime strategy is concerned as far as India and the world is concerned. Because remember, nearly 70% of the earth consists of water, consists of seas. So therefore, it is very, very important. Now, let us come down to the next topic, that is which pertains to India's coastal security. And that is basically securing ports, securing coastal areas, securing offshore installations. Remember that no major terrorist attack has occurred in India's ports up till now after the 26/11 attack. However, the containers which come in our ports have been used for smuggling arms, ammunition, and other contraband. And today, there are 12 major ports, there are 184, 190 non-major ports from where trade takes place. So a lot of times this is misused. There are cases of sandalwood smuggling in the Chennai harbor. There was a case of arms ammunition being brought in the form of a scrap from war-torn countries. There was also a case of arms and ammunition coming in the Calcutta port, which was lying abandoned. There was an arms and ammunition consignment at the JNPT. So there have been many security breaches, and it must be ensured that no. What are the threats from the sea? What are the threats to our coastal areas? It is smuggling. It is smuggling of unauthorized stuff. Nothing should be ever be smuggled. There should be a proper import and export trade between the countries who want to carry out trading activities. Then there's the problem of illegal trade. Then there's the problem of poaching in our areas. Some unauthorized vessels come into our exclusive economic zone and poach, especially in the areas of island territories such as Andaman Nicobar Islands and to some extent even the Lakshadweep and Minikai Islands. There have been a case of a number of Pakistani fishing boats which have been abandoned in the run of Kutch. Those boats were empty. So where have the people there gone from? So the international community a long time back thought about it, and it produced a document called International Ship and Port Facilities Security Code, or in short, it is called as the ISPS code. Basically, it looks at the security of ports and other installations which are there in the country, and it recommends certain guidelines. What does it do? Firstly, it says you must find out as to what are the areas of threat, theft, it could be dacoity or something. Then there's a question of you must have communication between the ships, between the port control, between the other agencies, so that if there is a breach, then they should be able to communicate with each other. Then alarm, should there be emergency. Then the next point is that should an alarm be raised, then there has to be an organization which will respond to the alarm. And then also there are so many stakeholders inside the port. They are CISF, they are the port authorities, there are various kinds of small boats, tugboats, etc., which are there. So everybody has to be aware as to what are the security threats to the ports and other installations, and everybody must be aware and must look at it, so that if there's any problem, then all respond as a team. What are the threats which are there? Some of the threats are there may be an hijacking or takeover of a cargo vessel. There may be illegal carriage of contraband goods. There may be remotely triggered bombs, etc., or explosive device. One would remember that the very large crude carriers which come out of the Persian Gulf have been attacked with drones, and a lot of Iranian ships, etc., have been sunk. Then at times terrorists may take over a ship. Terrorists taking over a ship. The cases have not happened in too many incidents have not taken place, but pirates have definitely captured a lot of ships and taken crew as a prisoner. And even as we speak now, there are a large number of the seafarers or the people who work on the ship who are in the custody of pirates. Basically, pirates take them, make them hostages to earn money. Let us hope that some of the Indian seafarers who are there in the custody of pirates will be able to rescue them over a period of time. Then there are issues such as uh, theft, which can take issue of ships which enter your exclusive economic zone, but they switch off their automatic identification system. Then, so there are many such threats which are there. At times, the shipping bills are prepared fraudly, meaning you buy things worth 10 crores, but the bill is for only 1 crore. That is basically for tax evasion. So it is a very illegal activity. At times, containers lie in a port area which are unclaimed. At times, at times there are employees who carry out illegal activity inside. At times, there's an encroachment on the port land. At times, there are some other threats which are there, etc. Now, as far as the security of the ports are concerned, there are two important security agencies. First is that inside the major ports, the security is with the CISF, Central Industrial Security Force, and they are well trained. But they have to also look toward the maritime aspect, look and ensure that they carry out patrolling from out in the sea also. As far as the non-major ports are concerned, a lot of non-major ports, the security is looked after by the private security companies. And most of the private security companies employ people who are from the Army or Army, Navy, Air Force, that is the three services, even Coast Guard, and even policemen also. Some of the private security companies do a very good job. Some don't do it as well. So therefore, the standards of private security company, a security audit needs to be done at a regular interval, which is generally done by the intelligence bureau. But what is important is when we carry out a security audit of non-major ports, we must have a team consisting of not only intelligence officials such as IB and RAW, but we must have elements from the Indian Navy, elements from Indian Coast Guard, also from the police, and also from other agencies such as customs, etc., so that a foolproof audit is carried out. Now, as far as security inside the Indian waters are concerned, India can offer security personnel to the ships when they enter our waters, because a lot of times when a ship is waiting inside in the Indian harbor for 1 day or 2 days, there can be a theft, etc. So we could provide our qualified security personnel to the ship when it is anchored inside the India's exclusive economic zone, etc. So there are a lot of recommendations which are there, which we need to implement. While ISPS code has been a very good act, but its implementation has not been up to the mark. We have to ensure a strict security of all the agencies, and we have to ensure that the security is of a very high quality, especially in our Andaman and Nicobar Island and Lakshadweep Island, because if the security is not up to the mark there, somebody can infiltrate into the ship and use that ship to come inside our areas of the mainland. So we therefore have need to be very, very careful. The most important principle that people have to follow is what is called as SASS, meaning stay alert, stay safe. All stakeholders who are in the port area, who are in the offshore area, who are in various installations on the coastline have to develop a security culture, keep their eyes and ears open, find out as to what threats are emerging in the areas opposite it, and then take care of it. Now, next part I would talk about is the offshore installations. We have a lot of oil rigs which are operating at Bombay High, the Godavari Kaveri basin where exploration of oil is taking place. Now, these offshore installations are very, very important. A rig in the Bombay High, the cost runs into thousands of crores, and if it's damaged, then it can create a problem as far as our economics is concerned, and also as far as the oil security is concerned. Now there is an offshore defense advisory group which is there, which is a nodal agency to coordinate all security issues. And they have three, four other subgroups under them. They lay down policies, they carry out inspections, they carry out surprise checks, etc. So therefore, the system is in place. There is no problem as far as the system is concerned. But the important issue is that everyday implementation has to be of the mark. I'll just give you example. Now, when you talk of port security, ISPS code is there, but ports allow literally thousands of trucks every day which come inside the port for transporting goods outside. Now, is it possible to carry out a check of all these trucks which come from outside, or some untoward element can come in that? Also, some ports permit water transport, fishing, recreational boats, etc. to operate inside their port. There are various kinds of small boats, including the fishing boats that operate in the port area or along the coastline. There's a lot of inland coastal transport that takes place there. Now, who is ensuring that these people also follow norms which are laid down for a better security? So, most important is what is the kind of a threat that can take place to a port security. Obviously, the cargo terminals can be used to smuggle terrors, arms, ammunition, explosives, dangerous material. There was a case when a radioactive material had come inside as a scrap. Then there is also commercial cargo ships which can be used as a collision weapon. If a commercial vessel goes and bangs against a battleship, what damage it can cause. If there's an accident inside our harbor area, the harbor area can get choked. Now, for example, our major harbors like Cochin and all, there are very narrow channels which take it out to the sea. Similarly, inside Vishakhapatnam Island, Vishakhapatnam port also, the channels are very narrow. If a big ship is sunk in that area, then it can block the channel. It can stop the economic activity there. I'm not trying to be pessimist. But what is important is we have to keep our eyes and ears open and find out as to what inimical powers who are inimical to our national interest can do. And we have to take countermeasures as far as these things are concerned. Use of boats loaded with explosive, ramming against a ship, attacking ships which are carrying let's say, volatile fuels such as liquefied natural gas or liquefied petroleum gas or crude oil, attacking oil tankers, especially in the port area. Now, if they start discharging their oil there in the port, what kind of a pollution it can cause? And this kind of an oil pollution had taken place in the Chennai harbor, and we have seen as to how serious it was. So, therefore, there are a large number of agencies which are involved. Every ship has a security officer. Every port has a security officer. There are audits carried out, but important is to implement the security plan in a new way, carry out regular inspections, carry out regular audits so that we do not fall prey. There has to be a complete jointmanship, a complete cooperation between the Indian Navy, the Coast Guard, the coastal police which are there, the Central Industrial Security Force, we have the Border Security Force, Water Wing, which is there on the two corners of Sundarban and Sal Creek area. We have the private security agencies which are working there. There are various kinds of people involved in the trade who are concerned. So all of them must act as the eyes and ears, and all of them must ensure that the security plan which is given there is implemented properly. So therefore, at the end of the day, revolving plan is important, but what we SPS measures, a lot of security breaches do take place, such as oil spills, such as pollution, such as smuggling, such as illegal trade, such as carrying out sabotage. Remember a few years back on the Butcher Island, the oil stored there caught fire, etc. So all the agencies involved in this must keep their eyes and ears open and must implement a plan such as oil refineries, such as oil pipelines, such as offshore assets, such as the oil rigs, etc., remain safe because they cost a lot of money and a damage to any one of them can hurt our economy badly. So I will end here and I'll try and see if there are any questions. If there are any, if some questions are there, I will try and take them. but presently I do not find any questions that have come up. If you have liked the videos, do share and share it with as many people as possible, because the whole aim of this series of talks on maritime and coastal security is to ensure that public education takes place and all Indians take part in this with the aim to make our country more secure. So I'll stop here with the request that if you like this video, please like it and share it with as many people as possible. Jai Hind.